Hi guys, welcome back to Esoteria Healing, your channel for spiritual growth. This is Rio Kashyap, your spiritual coach, and today I'm going to talk about a very controversial topic. I know a lot of people are going to come at me for this. However, it's a very important topic to discuss and I welcome your thoughts in the comments. So I'm going to talk about the requirement of a license to become a parent. I know some of you haven't even thought about it ever in your life, but this is something that I often think about, and I need to clear some things before I mention why a parental license should be required. Well, first of all, children are not a gift of God. They are a result of you doing a woohoo with your partner. What? Haven't you played The Sims? Even driving a car requires a license, then why not raising a human being? Isn't it a bigger responsibility? A license to have kids is not even on the agenda of anyone in the planet. I think it's because people are against it, because they want to have kids for all the wrong reasons. And they do not know that children come through you, they do not belong to you. While on the path of spiritual growth, one often discovers that everyone, including you and everyone around you, are just children walking in adult bodies, because we have not yet done the work to heal from our childhood traumas, and every single person is traumatized. There's hardly anyone, like 1 in 1,000 people, who is not traumatized from their childhood. Even small things like nagging or constant criticism can lead to a lot of trauma for a child. The previous generation did not have the means to even know that this is a problem, or that they themselves are traumatized from their childhood. This is because of lack of resources and knowledge to actually go and explore themselves in this direction. But this generation is quite privileged. There is a world of knowledge available on your cell phones, and therefore it becomes a greater responsibility for us to study and improve ourselves so that we make this world a better place for our children and to become better parents. My husband and I have been married for more than 4 years now, but the thought of having children is very far-fetched because both of us are children ourselves. We haven't gotten the opportunity to live our childhoods, and we want to do that first. And if we decide to have children at this point, it will be very natural for us to try and live our childhoods through them, which is not fair. A child should never be expected to fulfill something that the parent didn't receive. 95% of the population, even after being highly educated as doctors, engineers, etc., do not have the knowledge how the human brain works. And also they do not know anything about the subconscious mind or emotional or nervous regulation. They always say, have kids and then you learn as you go. Well, kids are not your guinea pigs. It is highly irresponsible to have kids when you have not even established a baseline of healing for yourself. Of course, nobody is completely healed, but at least I think we should make an effort to learn about ourselves, educate ourselves, heal ourselves, go to therapy, establish a baseline, and then have kids when you feel that you can support another human being with their own personality, their own dreams, their own aspirations, talents, and own problems. That can only happen if you've dealt with your own problems. You cannot pour from an empty cup. What I propose with my idea is for everyone who wants to be a parent to go through a procedure to get licensed first. And it should be required for them to establish a baseline by attending a full-time or part-time education regarding mental and emotional aspects of having a child care, and also regarding their own traumas that they might be suffering from, and at least beginning to get therapy for that. I'm saying this because there are people out there who need to be told that you need to feed a child, that you need to let the child outside, and that it's wrong to have 13 children held up in a boarded apartment for 20 years. I mean, if you still think that parents know best for their kids, I think you're living in 1100s? We need to throw this statement out the window. If you've watched enough serial killer documentaries, you would know by now the effect one's childhood has on their entire adult life. Our subconscious mind controls majority of our adult life. Let's take an arbitrary figure of 95%. Our subconscious mind is developed approximately before the age of 12 years. And that is our entire childhood. Whatever happens in our childhood, whatever affects us in our childhood, physically and chemically changes the brain. With constant neglect, the brain of a child is developed in such a way that it loses the ability to reason. This is a very good recipe for any kind of criminal life the child is exposed to as they grow up, or even as an adult. Whenever we see a criminal, we only blame the criminal for their actions. However, I think there is some blame to go to the parents or the caregivers as well. If you look at the child neglect statistics, it's like a maha epidemic. If you don't believe me, you can just Google the statistics in your country and you'll be quite surprised how we are treating our gifts from God. It's like a war against children. And you can keep in mind that these statistics are very underreported, and you can expect almost every other individual to have experienced neglect in some way, not only just physical. And even abuse is not just physical, it can be mental or even emotional. It can be constant nagging, it can be unrealistic expectations. A child can be well fed and provided for and still be neglected. There are so many forms of trauma that we are still studying it, and this is why I advocate for the education of parents and requirement of a parental license before they want to have kids. And there should be another exit exam before these classes are over to make sure that the parent has learned and established a baseline from where they can get a parental license and continue their therapy for at least a few years into childbearing, if not more. This is how we make sure that our coming generation is healthier mentally, physically, and they are given complete opportunity to express their true selves, that people don't have to involve themselves into cutthroat competition, and that there are lesser crimes because our children feel supported and listened to, and that they know that whatever problem they face in the world, there is someone to support them, to educate them, to let them know what is the next right step. And if they don't have the support, then they have the knowledge and tools themselves to be able to navigate life in a better way. Children should be comfortable going to their parents if any problem arises, rather than looking outside for love and for support and for guidance. Although that's not wrong, but it also exposes children to dangerous influences. And when we have this kind of education in the society, those dangerous influences themselves are going to decrease. Now, the world is not ready for this because the world is not ready to take the responsibility of their children. It is as simple as that. Why would you want to have children when you know that you're not educated in some way to provide the best environment possible for your child? Would you get a dog if you knew that you're not fit to have a dog? This topic is not on the mind of any leader in the country. I don't know how many years it will take for the society to arrive at this point where this license becomes mandatory. So I'm just putting this video out there for the current and the future generations to look back. I know nobody's going to search particularly my video in the future for this topic, but if this starts a chain reaction, if this sparks a new kind of thought even in the mind of just one person, and they might just decide to go to some parenting classes and get themselves educated on the physical, mental, emotional health of children, then my work here is done. So if you're going to leave a hate comment now, just stop for a moment and think about what you're advocating for. Child neglect. And if I still find some hate comments, there are always trolls on the internet, then those comments are great example of the child neglect that our society has been doing for centuries now. And if you watched this video till here, I am very grateful to you to want to learn more, and I request you to comment I agree in the comments to let me know and to let YouTube know that you like this video, so that it can be shown to other people who would be interested in this topic. And by you leaving a comment, I get to know that yes, people are stepping up, people are taking responsibility to help themselves first and then their children and the future generations. All the links to my social media are in the description. Have a wonderful rest of your day.